One Missed Call is a 2008 remake of the 2003 Japanese film of the same name. After having it explained to me, apparently there are a lot of Asian-inspired horror films, either directly inspired by this genre, or flat-out remaking films under this ilk, like The Ring and The Grudge. But this one is often declared as the one that ended this little trend in the 2000s. Apparently, this film was so bad, it only has a 0% on Rotten Blueberries out of 70 reviews. Then again, as far as I can tell, that website is made up of 12-year-old fanboys, so take that with a grain of salt. Without seeing the original film, all I know is that this film was directed by a Frenchman by the name of Eric Vallet, who doesn't even have his own Wikipedia page, and was written by the writer-turned-conservative political commentator Andrew Klavan. Oh, that Andrew Klavan, the old man that shows up in many PragerU videos. Well, now I know I'm going to enjoy this movie because PragerU is practically all I watch. You know, along with Fox, Newsmax, NewsNation, Daily Wire, you know, all the unbiased sources. Ha ha ha! Well, if it's written by a PragerU alumnus, I don't even need to see the movie to know I'm going to like it. 5 stars, 10 out of 10, A+. There, we're done. Okay, you're right. Fair is fair. Before I praise the film, I actually need to see it. So, this is One Missed Call. Well, the movie doesn't waste any time as we begin with a fire bursting out of a hospital and we see a little girl being rescued. But then we jump forward to one of our many uninteresting main characters, a young college-aged woman looking for her pet cat. And for some reason, despite living in America, her house looks like a home in Japan. I guess they wanted to pay homage to the country that the original film was made in, but it just makes her look like one of those people who are obsessed with Chinese cartoons. As she looks around, she gets grabbed by a hand coming out of her grotto, and she's pulled down into the water, along with her cat. After the opening credits that look like a generic cop show from the 90s, complete with blue tinting and footage randomly being slowed down, we see some more college students hanging out at a party, specifically this guy Ryan talking to our main female, Beth. What was any of that? Seriously, that few seconds it took for her to answer the door, I think took off an entire year of my life. Movie, whatever you do not start having editing on par with Carnosaur 3. That is something nobody wants to do. Nobody wants to be like Carnosaur 3. Well, after a fortnight, she finally answers the door, and it's her friend Leanne, who just so happens to know the opening kill girl because she was talking to her on the phone. She's upset that her friend just died, and soon enough, the woman's phone begins to ring, with a message dated for next Monday.
I don't know, it's the weirdest thing. It's like, every time I turn around, there's...
Okay. We then meet a detective character named Jack, who is examining the corpse of his own sister, as he ends up discovering a cherry cough drop inside her mouth. I always knew you could never trust Luden's cherry-flavored cough drops. It's here where Leanne begins to see things, like an AI-generated centipede burrowing into her skin, and later, a zombie on a bus staring at her. Yeah, okay then. She calls Beth, but since it was the next Monday, like the phone call they listened to earlier said, it means that she's going to have to die by being hit by a train. At Leanne's funeral, it seems Ryan is now getting the same hallucinations and seeing things that aren't there, like the centipedes, and he even gets a call of himself dying in a couple of minutes from now. Look, I'm not a horror fan, right? However, that being said, Do you think it would be too much to ask for us to actually figure out who these people are? Who are some of these people? What are their interests? What are their likes? What are their dislikes? Who are they dating? What are their favorite kinds of foods? Why are they the main characters if they are so uninteresting? Make these characters interesting enough for me to actually want to follow them as an audience member. Make it so that I actually grow to like these people before we inevitably have to see them sadly perish.
Brian, don't! Look, these things work because they get in your head, Beth. Hey, you're the psych lady, you know that. If you don't think about it, it can't hurt you.
Okay, that wasn't the fault of some supernatural curse or whatever. This guy's just a clod. No, he ends up getting it once a random explosion goes off and then he gets flaming rebar right through him. Boy, this movie really wants you to think that red jawbreakers are scary. I mean, did they really think that was going to threaten people? Who knows? Maybe the people that made this movie thought that this series was some kind of warning sign. Anyway, Beth and her friend Taylor believe they might be targets, so they decide to take the batteries out of their cellular phones. Oh my gosh! There's phones that work without batteries? What? Someone get a hold of Zach Baggins right now, immediately. It seems Taylor got a video call with incredibly staticky footage, and it seems something will happen to her in 6 days. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry, 2 days. It's 2 days in this movie. And now that she knows this, why doesn't she just stay indoors when her time inevitably comes? Because these are very imbecilic main characters. Well, I guess I was sort of right, since this man is the host of a paranormal ghost hunting show and he wants to look into her case. The next day, Beth discovers Taylor went to be with her parents. And I guess that makes sense after realizing you only have a certain amount of time to live. Detective Jack stops by her house and tells her that he figured out who called his sister in the opening kill girl. Her name was Marie Layton. They go to her apartment and it seems mostly abandoned, but that doesn't stop them from wandering around and getting scared by loud noises that pop up and yell boo. But they find a disc with some nanny cam footage on it, so it seems they finally can help explain a bit of what's going on.
Okay, so judging from the angle, the camera would have been right here. So where did it go?
Well, trust me, nobody wants this. The acting gets really bad.
And I mean bad.
The older sister, whose name is Ellie by the way, died of asthma, while the younger sister, Laurel, was put into hospital care after being abused by Marie.
It says her mother was questioned by a psychiatric nurse at St. Luke's.
Your sister.
Very moronically, Taylor goes on the show, and what a shock, she ends up dying. Huh. They took quite a risk doing that. People are dying left and right, and they're just going to air this all live? Like, not even expecting that maybe she's going to actually die on camera? Jack and Beth show up and discover the body, and don't seem to have any reaction to what happened to her.
Didn't see this. This girl needs protection.
From what? The ghost in her cell phone? Tell her to call customer service.
And in that moment, Beth gets a call saying that her time is coming the next night. It's here where Beth opens up about her family to Jack. She mentions that her father passed away when she was young and she was since abused by her mother. Before you think this means anything or will play out in any way, it does not. I don't even know why they addressed it. However, they managed to find the little girl, Yanni, who is now in foster care. And hey, she's the girl from the beginning that was being rescued from the hospital. And they also learned about her earlier, so hopefully now we're getting somewhere. Especially after her teddy bear makes the same jingle as the infamous phone ringtone. Later on in the movie, Beth learns Marie died in the hospital, so she might be a ghost and might be responsible for all this. so she decides to go to the hospital herself and see for herself. If you know you're going to die that night at a specific time, why would you deliberately put yourself in harm's way? After we see a vision of a baby that's as realistic as the one in American Sniper, which is to say it looks really good. She runs for her life, she runs into Jack, and he gets knocked out while Beth gets locked into confinement. She tries to crawl through the air ducts to escape and comes across Marie's corpse, which then comes to life and attacks her. Ooh! But the zombie doesn't do anything, and Beth comes to the revelation that Marie wasn't the one responsible. She's actually some kind of guardian angel or something. Guardian angel, Christian symbology, the kind of thing I'd expect from something written by Andrew Clavin. Jack goes to tell P.I. that her mother is dead, but notices that she's sleeping, and just when you think the movie is about to go with the twist it totally should go with, that it was all the bear this whole time, they discover another nanny cam disc inside of the thing, and we get the real twist for the movie. That the other sister, Ellie, was abusing Kafefi, not Marie, and Ellie died from an asthma attack after Marie had to rush her to the hospital. So it turns out Ellie was the one behind all of this. Oh, of course, it all makes sense. I mean, really, that's a twist that nobody could have seen coming. I mean, it still doesn't really explain why she went after them specifically. Didn't really seem like they had any direct connection to her, or they didn't really go into why she sought that group of friends out specifically, but okay.
But she always gave me candy.
At the police station's evidence locker, Jack's phone begins to ring and he rushes over to Beth's house now that he knows what's going on. He tells her everything, but he ends up getting it when he goes to check for a knock at the door and gets his eye poked out through the peephole. The house begins to shake and things begin to explode as Ellie's ghost shows up, but leave it to Marie to defeat her, banish her inside the phone, say Jumanji out loud. You know what? I don't even care anymore. So that was one missed call from 2008. Now some horror fans out there might be watching this film and saying things like, oh, well, this is too derivative of other movies, or the editing is all over the place, or that it's not very scary, or gasp, the movie is incredibly boring. However, I have to just simply put on the record that I think this movie is good, mostly because it's written by someone that shares the same politics as me, and therefore that means that this is a fantastic movie.
You claim to be a player, but I fucked your wife.
Well, I'm not really sure what we're going to be talking about next time, but whatever we're going to be talking about, hopefully it's as good as this film. Until then, may Jesus be with you.
The phone is yours, so you can do whatever you want with it.